It's Britney. It's time to read Britney's book. I have been looking forward to reading this book for a while, ever since she announced it. I am a Britney fan. I love Britney. Britney Spears was the first concert that I ever went to. I think I was like 11 years old. To me, she was like a goddess. I'm so happy for her that she is finally able to tell her story and to share her story. And I know that this book would not have been possible if she was still in the conservatorship. So I do really care for her, and I think she's been through so much. And there was such a horrible image made by the media to just portray her in such a horrible way. And even me back in 2007, when she shaved her head and everything, you know, I was one of those people too that was like, wow, she's gone crazy, she's insane. But I fully regret saying those things, and we obviously did not know what was going on in her life. And some of those headlines could have also contributed to her family putting her in the conservatorship, which is really horrible. So that's why I'm so happy that she finally has her story out. I have gotten some spoilers off of Twitter. I'm still gonna read the book, and I love that at the end of this, and the first line is, if you follow me on Instagram, you thought this book was going to be written in emojis, didn't you? And then she put like little flower emojis next to it, if you guys can see it right there, which I thought was so hilarious that she did that. Yeah, let's go ahead and read this book. So I finally finished reading the Britney memoir, The Woman in Me. I finished it in 2 days. I'm finally now getting to sit down to talk about it. This book was very heartbreaking. I found myself feeling very sad after reading this. I wish that I could have given her a hug now and when everything was going on. Like I said in the beginning, I am a really big Britney Spears fan. I grew up watching her. I love Britney. And so seeing all of this happen to her was really sad, and hearing it from her and her perspective was just also really sad. I'm very happy that she was able to finally make this book. I love that we are getting everything from her and her perspective only. So in the beginning of the book, she talks about having a very dysfunctional family because her dad was always drunk, he was an alcoholic, and her mother was always yelling, and there was always a lot of tensions in the house, and Britney had to deal with all of that. She also explains her growing up pretty early and doing a lot of like adult things as a teenager. There's obviously so much more to this story, and I really hope that you all read this book or listen to the audiobook version. I do think that it's a good idea for you to read this book and to get her side of everything, because I think it's going to make a lot more sense. And I think we'll all realize that this whole Britney is crazy narrative that was going around was just not true, and it was the media, but it was also her family. Like, on top of everything that she went through, her family was just so horrible to her. She didn't have a good support system around her. The people that you would think the most, that should be there for you the most and should be having your back and supporting you, those were actually the people that were hurting her the most. So the whole Justin Timberlake, I used to have a crush on him when I was like 10. But somewhere along the way, I just got the ick. Like, there's something about him now that just like, it gives me the ick, and I couldn't really pinpoint what it was or when the shift was. But now I don't know, I almost get like creeped out. This book definitely answered some of those little icks that I had. But the most upsetting part about the whole Justin Timberlake part, it's not the pregnancy part, even though that is really sad, but it was a decision that they made together. For me, the most horrible part about all of that is Justin just made this narrative that he was the victim, that he was so hurt by the breakup. He wanted the breakup, but then he's like, singing this whole Cry Me a River song, which I actually really like that song, and I hate that I like it. So he released this whole Cry Me a River song. He had this whole narrative that he was this hurt man and that he was done so wrong by Britney, when in reality, that wasn't the truth. That's what makes him such a crappy person. Like, there's nothing wrong with going through a breakup and just moving on and letting it go and leaving it in the past. But when you harp on it and you create this false narrative about the entire thing and playing the victim, that's when it's messed up. It's like, you didn't have to do all that. You didn't have to do any of that. He just did it to hurt her more, because I fully believe that he knew that she was crushed by this breakup, and he just made it worse instead of just leaving her alone. And so that's what makes him not a good person in my eyes. He should have just left it alone. There's nothing wrong with breaking up with somebody, but just leave them alone. You know, you don't have to go after them after the breakup. And then we get to Kevin Federline. Which I never really liked him. I didn't know that he ghosted her. He ghosted his wife, essentially. And he wasn't really there with the kids, but then he just turned into this person that all of a sudden he wants to have custody of the kids and to be around the kids when he was never around them. Again, I'm just sort of speeding through everything, but I really do want all of you to read this if you can, because I feel that it's really important for you to read the book and hear everything and read everything for yourself. But then we get to the whole phase of like the 2007 era of her shaving her head and going after this paparazzi guy. When you learn everything, and everything in the book I know is true, because there's also a lot of documentaries and video footage that confirms a lot of this story that she has. This was a woman at the time who was losing custody of her kids, who was constantly being harassed by paparazzi. I can't believe that this happened to her. I am a mom of 3, and I know how hard it is to go through postpartum and having to deal with those hormones and the adjustments that you're having to make after having a baby. And she had to do it 2 times in a row. You know, she had the kids pretty close together. That's a lot for your body, and you're going through so much. You're going through so many different emotions and hormones, and she's having to do that in front of the media. She's having to do that with paparazzi harassing her everywhere that she goes. She's going through a divorce, a man that just like ghosted her, and that's a lot to handle. And she was in her mid-20s at the time. Like, that is just so much to deal with on your own, because she did not have any support from anybody. That's a lot. It breaks my heart, especially seeing these images of her with her kids, trying to protect them in this restaurant, and the people at the restaurant did nothing to help her. She's just sitting there crying and nobody's doing anything. It's just so sad that all of this happened to her, and everyone was just watching, and everyone was just calling her crazy. And she explains that her shaving her head was a moment of saying F you to everybody. And, you know, she didn't want to be pretty anymore. She didn't want anything. The only thing that she wanted was her boys. And it makes so much sense now, looking at everything that happened to her and reading her story. It makes sense. And the whole part of her with the umbrella and attacking the guy's car, she explains that she was trying to go see her kids that she hadn't seen in a while, which one of her boys was 5 months at the time. I can't even imagine someone keeping my 5-month-old from me. I would lose my mind too. Like, I would go crazy. And so it's fully, in my eyes, is fully justified everything that she did in the moment, because when you're in that state of just being desperate, you want your kids, you want people to leave you alone, and these people are just harassing her nonstop. I fully understand why, in a way, she snapped. You know, she had that moment where she just couldn't take it anymore. And I mean, I think anybody would reach that point, honestly. And I also wanted to say that this whole Britney is crazy narrative, I just really wish that people would stop with that, because it's so dangerous. Like, words are really dangerous, actions are, but words are really powerful. And if you use the wrong words, it can be very dangerous. And if you repeat something enough, people start to believe it. And that's what people started to believe about Britney. This whole narrative came out, oh, she's crazy, she's losing her mind. And it just snowballed into something way bigger. And people started to believe it. Yeah, she was going through a hard time, but she didn't need people to repeatedly call her crazy. And that probably had an effect on her. It probably made her start to believe it on some level. It obviously made everyone out in the public believe it. And then now you have her children who, on some level, probably think that about their own mother because it was repeated to them constantly. And it's just so dangerous. And I really hope that people don't continue that narrative about her, because it's not helping anybody. That sort of language to repeat to someone over and over again doesn't help. I did cry reading this book. It just made me really sad. Like, there's one part here, she explains being put in a treatment center and not being able to leave. She says that God must have been with me through that period of time. 3 months into my confinement, I started to believe that my little heart, whatever made me Britney, was no longer inside my body anymore. Something bigger must have been carrying me through, because it was too much for me to bear alone. I look at the fact that I survived and I think that wasn't me, that was God. It broke my heart, and I cried reading a good portion of this book. That's really sad. To be put in basically like a facility and you're locked away. She had no rights. She couldn't leave. Was medicated, was under surveillance 24/7, couldn't do anything by herself. And she started to lose faith. And that's just really sad. And I'm so happy that she's on the other side of all of that. I love Britney and I love her music. And I think she's one of the best performers ever. But I fully understand if she never does music again. Even though it's sad, I understand it. I think I speak for every Britney fan when I say that I just want her to be happy. I just want her to be healthy and happy and to have peace. And if that means her never doing music again, then I'm okay with that. And I can still go back and listen to all of her old stuff, which I do. And I love watching her performances. She was just such an amazing dancer. Also, by the way, I just wanted to mention really quickly that I did not know that Britney had a Christmas song, and it is so cute. I had no idea this existed, and I'm a Britney fan. I know a lot about Britney, but I did not know that this song existed. I heard it last year for the first time, and I know her voice, and I heard it, and I was like, wow, how have I never heard this song before? I really do think that we should stream it this holiday season because it's very cute. I think that it should be like one of those staple Christmas songs that we play every year. Please go read her book if you haven't, or listen to the audio. Watch some documentaries or deep dives here on YouTube. They're really great at explaining a lot of the timeline that happened with her and everything. I am very happy that she finally shared her story and that it's out there for everyone to read. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts of the book if you've read it down below, because I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Please subscribe to my channel. I am trying to reach 5,000 subscribers. I appreciate your support in any way. I will see you all next time.